What is going on, guys? MMA Island team, we got the fight picks and we got UFC. What'd you call it?
Fright Night.
UFC Fright Night. There you go.
It's
Uh,
good. I
the Halloween card, Anderson Silva's farewell of a legendary career. But right now, we are talking about Greg Hardy versus Maurice Greene. Interesting fight, man. I was really excited when this fight was announced. I was really excited to talk about it, but I'll pass it on to Zach.
Well, I'm ready for all the hate in the comment section. I'm ready for it because I'm just gonna go off the bat and say it before I explain myself. I'm picking Maurice Greene to win this fight, and that might be a bit surprising because Greg Hardy's a massive favorite. But allow me to explain myself. Greg Hardy has coasted on the fact that he is an incredible athlete for his UFC career for so long without actually having that great of fighting abilities. He imposes his physical presence and he just explodes forward and he throws pretty hard punches. And because he's a big, strong former NFL player, he can do that. And his level of competition, minus the probably one of the weirdest matched MMA fights in history against Alexander Volkov, his level of competition has been incredibly low. Now, Maurice Greene, admittedly, is not very good. I'm aware of this fact, and he should have destroyed John Volante when it was much closer than it should have been. Anyways, what I really like about Maurice Greene is that the fact that he's changing, well, he's had more time to adjust to his camp switch because he was originally at Factory X, but then he made the move to Jackson Wink. And when I interviewed him a while back, it seemed to be like the best move for him, like going to Jackson Wink. And while I hate Jackson Wink fighters, I just despise them because they seem to have an allergy to putting on exciting fights. Um, I believe that it's like genuinely good for his career. And the one thing that's actually interesting is that he is a good grappler for heavyweight standards. He actually challenged Alexei Oleinik in the ground game. It was actually pretty fun to watch. Alexei hasn't really been challenged on the ground like that in a while. And he's for a guy his size, he's a really good grappler. And if this fight goes to the ground, he is absolutely going to submit Greg Hardy. Now, the one thing that makes Greg Hardy not win fights and keeps him at bay is if he's not able to get in on his opponents. That's what we saw Alexander Volkov do to him, just absolutely exposed how to beat him. And I mean, of course, this is one of the best heavyweights on planet Earth, taking on someone who wasn't even in the top 15. So that's going to happen. And everyone's like, oh, Greg Hardy had a decent performance against Volkov. Yeah, he got 30-27 when Volkov was putting around 30% effort. Shout out Kamaru Usman only putting in 30%. But Maurice Greene is bigger than Greg Hardy. That's a thing to mention. Greg Hardy's bigger than most of his opponents. No. They have the same reach, but Maurice Greene has 2 inches of height on him. He is a bigger man, and I think he can keep him on the outside. If he can keep Greg Hardy on the outside, Greg Hardy can't do anything. And I just want to mention that Greg Hardy would have lost to Yorgan De Castro if Yorgan De Castro would have kept up the leg kicks. But as we know, Yorgan De Castro decides to do well in the first round and then just, decides to stand in the octagon, let his opponents throw a few punches, collect his check, and leave. He doesn't want to fight after round 1. Just kind of a shame. But anyway, yeah, if you look like slightly vulnerable against Yorgan De Castro of all people, I'm not going to have the highest hopes for you in your MMA career. Obviously, this isn't the best fighter that Greg Hardy's ever fought, but since I don't really count the Volkov fight as a real fight, Maurice Greene is by far the best fighter that he has ever faced. I think with his range and with the grappling attack that Maurice Greene does offer, because his submissions are damn good. Yes, he's never had a takedown in the UFC, but I expect him to try it. Greg Jackson, Mike Winklejohn, they'll tell him to do it. He's absolutely going to try. So Greg Hardy can win this fight. He can, but I'm gonna have to go and pick the crochet boss, Maurice Greene.
So,
Pass
a
on
couple
you.
things to mention on this one. Greg Hardy, obviously coming from the NFL, it's kind of crazy because I'm a diehard NFL fan. I think a lot of
Me
people
too.
know. You don't see around here either. But talking about Greg Hardy, it's kind of crazy that it's been the crazy story just seeing how he was in the NFL and then now in the UFC. It's besides the point. Just talking about the athleticism of Greg Hardy. the one thing that we know about Greg Hardy now is this dude's got crazy knockout power. And I think it's really true. So obviously you mentioned, and this is a great point. So knocking out Juan Adams, knocking out or going the distance and beating Jorgen de Castro, and then I guess can we credit him for the Ben Sassoli win? Do you credit him?
Yeah.
Oh,
Inhaler gate.
but it's like, does that really put too much? Like,
I don't think so. He won that fight, but it's Ben Sassoli. Keep
see,
your head up, Ben. Hope you're doing fine in prison over there.
see, so I understand it from like a technical standpoint, from like a record standpoint, putting it as no contest, no problems with it. But from when you're taking a fight and you kind of just have to look into it and figure out should you play it into who actually won and blah blah blah. It's like when fighters test positive for like marijuana, it's like, okay, you can kind of take that fight as what it was. So in this case, I'll take that fight for what it was. And beating Juan Adams, Jorgen Castro, Ben Sassoli, three guys who we've seen kind of vulnerable in the UFC now, at least, and Jorgen Castro, a dude who I actually really liked until Carlos Felipe fight, where in the ground he just decided to just constantly clinch him over and over
and do nothing in the
and
clinch.
do nothing with it. It's like, this is why. Let me get off track for just a quick second, because I want to.
Okay.
I love the ground game. I absolutely love it. I love the clinch game. You're fighting for a takedown. You're fighting for this. Oh, he's trying to go for double underhooks. I love that. I absolutely love that. I am not one of those people that want to see stand-up fights all the time because I like my ground game. Do something with the clinch, Jorgen, please. Next fight, you better. Okay, let's talk about this. Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy's got some knockout power. One thing I wanted to mention about Maurice Greene, I picked Sean Vellante to beat Maurice Greene. And
I remember I was bewildered that you did so.
a lot of people thought I was crazy.
I did.
Vellante absolutely blasted Maurice Greene, and Maurice Greene was put on his back. And for whatever reason, Jean Vellante jumps into his guard and gets caught in a arm triangle from.
It was not an arm triangle.
It looked like an Ezekiel choke.
I say this till this day. John Vellante was smothered because he was tired and out of breath, and his face was pressed into Maurice Greene. He couldn't breathe, so he tapped. There was no pressure around his neck.
What a very, very interesting situation is how I will put it.
Yes, watch that back. It's gloriously stupid.
So, yeah, getting dropped by Jean Vellante, a guy who really shouldn't be at heavyweight, and shout out John Vellante against Jake Collier, the battle of who shouldn't be fighting at heavyweight. But yeah,
that caused the earthquake that we've been waiting on in San Francisco.
But Jean Vellante fight, getting dropped by Jean Vellante in that fight, I put a lot of stock into that, just because Jean Vellante shouldn't be fighting at heavyweight, and really even in light heavyweight wasn't really known to be like this super powerful guy. He's got some knockout power, but just going out there and dropping Maurice Greene, and obviously getting knocked out by Pavlovich in the fight, 2 fights before that as well. Obviously Pavlovich is a beast. Wish we got to see him against Cyril Gane, but now we get Gane against JDS.
No, that was Abdurakhimov.
Yeah, so he was. Wait, so was
it was Shamil, and then Ante Dalia. Trust me, I'm an expert on all things Cyril Gane. Okay.
So we're getting way off track as usual. It's a trend for this whole fight card, but I will announce my pick. I'm going to go with Greg Hardy on this one. I think getting dropped by Jean Vellante, I think that's something that I sort of put, as I mentioned, put a lot of stock into. And then you're going up against Greg Hardy. It's like Greg Hardy versus Jean Vellante. If that fight were to happen, I think a lot of people would expect Greg Hardy to absolutely blast Jean Vellante. And then so kind of just putting that into factor, and then viewing Greg Hardy, do you really think Jean Vellante is going to go out there and drop Greg Hardy? Because I just don't think that's a very likely scenario. So I think Greg Hardy's definitely going to have the advantage in striking, definitely going to have the advantage in power. And then you're talking about takedown game. I think that's one thing that's really, really important, because as you know, Maurice Greene hasn't really shown his takedown ability, but he has shown his submission ability. And then you're looking at Greg Hardy. 83% takedown defense is pretty good for a guy coming from the NFL. So if Maurice Greene does end up going for a takedown, I see Greg Hardy being able to stop it, and I see him being able to get back up, and I see him being able to strike with Maurice Greene. I think this fight's going to be ended pretty early. I think Greg Hardy's going to be able to knock him out in the first round. I really like this. I really like Greg Hardy's knockout ability, his striking ability, and as I mentioned, man, John Vellante knocking down Maurice Greene, and it was a pretty heavy shot. It was a very, very good shot. Having that sort of lankier, taller body in Maurice Greene, I think a lot of people I think a lot of people who watch MMA at least realize that that's sort of a negative if you're not able to have the striking combinations as usual. Shout out James Vick. But talking about this fight,
Rip James Vick, MMA career gone. Well, UFC career gone.
Greg Hardy, man, I just think that he's going to be able to go out there and get a knockout victory. Obviously, we've seen him go the distance in his last 3 fights, so I don't know, man. I think he's going to be able to knock him out. I think you're fighting DeCastro. As much as I don't want to mention DeCastro's name ever again, DeCastro has a pretty good chin, and I think he's a pretty good striker as well. And Alexander Volkov, one of the greatest strikers in heavyweight history, in my opinion.
Whoa, that's bold.
That's bold, but I'm gonna say it because Volkov is very, very good. I think he's one of the underrated fighters in the heavyweight division, and I want to see that dude fight Overeem. I think that's a banger of a fight.
I agree.
So, yeah, I'm gonna go with Greg Hardy. I'm gonna say by knockout. But we want to know what you guys think. We got a disagreement, one of the few disagreements of the night. So you guys know what that means. Go ahead and break the tie for us. Let us know in the comments who you guys got. Just show your support in the comments. Make sure you guys are liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and checking out the other Fight Pick videos.